Polynesia in the Hot Seat, where we highlight powerful stories from across the Pacific that inspires, uplift, and remind us of the strengths in our roots. I'm your host, Leaso Filoyali'i, coming to you live from Katy, Texas.
And Talo Falava, I'm Lina Famoina, joining in from the beautiful state of Hawaii. In our culture, in all things that we do, we first give praise, honor, and glory to God. We thank God for this opportunity and pray that He blesses everyone tuning in to Pulse of Polynesia. May we be protected and guided and strive to love and forgive as our Lord has done for us all. Leaso and I would not be complete or successful without the assistance of our team, Eileen Tumalu and Fufu Petelo, who have been monitoring Facebook and YouTube. We'd also like to thank everyone for tuning in to share our trials and triumphs together as an Ainga. Please take this opportunity to ask those burning questions that you'd like to know, but also please remember to keep it respectful. I'm reading those comments via text messages and screenshots, so I'll be multitasking, looking on and off the screen, but I'm definitely paying attention.
Tonight, we're honored to welcome a true son of Samoa, a community pillar, and a man who's not just building football players, but shaping young lives. He is a proud Leone High School alumni and the current head football coach of the mighty Leone Lions. A husband, father, mentor, and leader, Coach Duke Elisaia wears many hats, and tonight he's stepping into the hot seat. He's going to share the story behind the jersey, the playbook, and the passion. So grab your snacks, settle in, and join us for an unforgettable night with Coach Duke Elisaia, live and unfiltered. Welcome, Duke. What's up? What's up?
Thank you. Thank you. I was you're too kind. You're too kind with those words. It's good to be on here again. For anybody watching, man, who doesn't know me, my name is Duke Elisaia. I'm from the village of Leone. I graduated from Leone High School, class of 1997. Um, like I said, I'm the head football coach. I do also coach the youth league for the AYF Packers. I'm involved with the JPS with the youth leagues there, and I'm just a husband to Pele, Pele Natetse, Chan Elisaya, and my beautiful daughter Sienna Ioane. Um, Other than that, man, I'm looking forward to this. Hey, thank you guys for having me on. I'm honored. It's a blessing to be on this podcast with you guys, especially with familiar faces. It's just a blessing to be on here and conversate and talk about what's going on here and catching up at the same time with you guys. So, like you guys said, uh, all praise and glory goes to God. God works in mysterious ways. Um, just trying to enjoy, like I said on my post on my birthday, is just right now I'm a head coach, a father, a husband, and just trying to enjoy every breath that I'm blessed with. So, thank you guys for having me on. So,
Well, we're so happy that you were able to have the time to get into the hot seat because I know you just been so busy these past couple of weeks and months. So before we get into it, why don't you take us back to the day after graduation? Where did that lead you? Where did you start? Because I know you weren't in Samoa too long after that. So tell us about that.
no, first of all, to answer your question, where did it not lead me? So, I'm gonna be honest, man. I was my mom. I was that kid, I was that son that kind of gave our mom a hard time. So my mom was all like, I left a week. So we graduated. You know how it goes. Every high school has a day of the week of graduation, right? Like Leone will be on Monday, Tafuna will be on Tuesday. They still do that till now. But our year, our graduation was on a Monday. My mom had me out by the next Monday. She was like, "Man, you ain't staying here no longer than a week," you know. And then yeah, so after that week, I left. I went to. I was planning on going to Snow College from there, but things didn't work out that way. I ended up going to Iowa straight out of high school to live with my brother Doug, and he had just graduated from Iowa Wesleyan. He was just starting out his family. So I went out there and worked. I 1 hour worked, and then I was out there for like I think till December of that year, and then I went to school, Snow College, and
Mhm.
yeah, like I said, I went to college. That's when they were having. I don't know if any schools still do it now, but it was quarters back then
Mhm.
instead of semesters. Man, that was it. 1 quarter, and like I said, I took a break in '98, and I'm still on break right now. So yeah,
Yep.
so
Tell me about that.
I
We've
yeah,
talked
go ahead.
about it. We talked about it before about you taking a break, right? What was it that caused you? I know that we all make
Mhm.
these decisions when we're in college because everything's new to us as we jump into a new environment. What was it for you during that time, your first semester?
It was crazy. I like my wife laughs all the time when I talk to her about it. Like, um, so I go there. I didn't know what to expect. Um, Obviously, I went there because of football, and then my friends were there. Honestly, so my brother Doug, he wanted me to go. He wanted me to go somewhere else, but me being because my brother and them left and they graduated from Samoa and they were gone for a while, and I just wanted to be with my friends again. You know, um, now that what I know now, I should have just listened to him. But as we go through that whole part of life where we think we know what we want. Anyways, I went there and um in class, like the first day, like how you could just get up and leave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In college. And dude, that was such a culture shock for me. Like, in my head, I'm, like, man, why let my phone walk on Mickey or something? It's just getting up and leaving and then, like at the end of class, I'm sitting over there, everybody getting up. I was like, man, I didn't even hear a bell, man. Like, I'm still stuck in Samoa, and then it was so funny because the first time I ever did it, like get up and leave while the teacher was talking, man, like my hand was shaking. I was nervous, man. And then not knowing I got up and walked out, and then like, why they care, man? For y'all, well, the rest, and then it was over after that. And I was like, man, this is easy, man. I could just leave whenever I want, man. But yeah, but it was such a culture shock, like time, like the first time I woke up like at 12 in the afternoon and nobody was yelling, nobody was telling me to do this and that. It's like halfway through the day, and I'm like, telling, man, this is life, man. We can get up whenever we want, man. Yeah, so that's how it quickly went downhill for my college career and everything like that. So, but it's I. If there's one thing I found out about it, if you're not mentally ready or prepared, to go to college, man, it's not gonna work, man. You gotta, for me, man, I think I looked at it as it was more of a my situation was like more of a freedom thing. I don't know if
Mhm.
that makes sense. It's like, man, I'm free now. Like I can do what I want. I can get up whenever I want. I don't have to go to class if I don't have to go to class. And then, I wasn't prepared mentally to make those kind of decisions, and so, you know, you reap what you sow. I
Yeah.
mean, I tell the kids all the time, what you put in is what you get out. And I didn't put in much, man, when I was in college, and I didn't get much out of it. So, and that's all on me. So, but that was that. You know, uh, yeah. So
So what did you do
that's
right
it.
after?
That's I moved to California. I went to California like 90% of the sound ones. Went out there, got a job, and then just kept saying, yeah, I'm just gonna go work for a year and then go back to school. And then the next year, I'm gonna go back to school. And then,
Mhm.
the more I kept saying it, the further away I got from it. And just um, I went to California. Worked, and then that's why I was laughing with you when you were saying if I knew anybody in certain states where the kids go, because man, like I don't think we have enough time on here for me to pinpoint my tour I went on because I lived in California, then Hawaii, Utah, where else, man? Even in Iowa, in the Midwest, went back and forth from Hawaii and California and Utah. I was just moving around. It was that whole thing, the spare of the moment thing. I never lived in this for a while. I never lived in the same state for over a year and a half,
Mm.
and then, that's why I was laugh with a lot of my siblings, and it's like, that's how you know you're doing good in life is when you have the same cell number for a long time. I never did. It's always a different number, a different number. So,
What took you
calling
on that journey
cousins
to these
and
different places? Did you just go, want to just be at different places, or the excitement? Because that takes a lot of
uh,
guts too, right? Coming from home and just going, where I give props to people that can go and stay at different places with, was it family? Did you stay with, or just working
yeah,
hard?
it was family. It's family and just like I tell my family all the time. Now that I'm in the position that I am, I appreciate them because man, if it was anybody else, man, they would have kicked me out of the house a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but, um, every time I go back to California, Utah, and we sit down and we hang out, I always tell them how grateful I am to them, for dealing with me, man, putting up with me. Because, honestly, um, I don't hide anything from the kids, from the football kids, and I tell them everything I went through, and I tell them always, man, if you're out there trying to go for something, make sure you stay on track. And if people take care of you, man, be grateful for it, and don't become that guy that I don't want them. Honestly, man, when I think about it, I think that I was like, oh, my cousin gonna be like, hey, man, this dude, man, he's from Samoa, and see him in a while, man. I'm glad he's out here. And then I just kind of rode that wave until it got old, and then I'm gonna take my surfboard to the next beach and look for another wave.
You were
But
networking,
I just let.
remember?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we talked last, so and man, it's been coming in handy lately with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
position I'm in now. I I'm so appreciative to those same people. Here's one thing: if there's one thing that I thank God for, other than keeping me alive and safe, is um, He always knew who to place around me. Like I was always around good people, and I still keep in touch with them now, and I have no shame, not shame, but I just have no problem calling them or reaching out when it comes to the kids. Like, hey man, we're coming up there. I mean, if you're available, thank you. If you're not, that's okay. I know life is busy, so it's been coming. It's been a blessing to keep in touch with them, and
Yeah.
so
Duke, how did you end up deciding to go back to Samoa?
um a person. Oh no! Honest, first of all, it was our boat, our Taimao boat. I think it was 2000, towards the ending of 2015. I was in Utah, and then I started seeing all these posts from my village in Leone here in Leone that they were about to bless the boat. And man, growing up in Samoa, I remember some of my older cousins or older boys here from Leone. They used to always row either for Vailoa or Nuuli. You know, um, and then you see that, and you just wish. I mean, I always wish we had a
Yeah.
boat. And then that year I seen that, and I was all like, man. And I wanted to talk to my brother. I told him, man. And like I told you, I haven't been back since '03, and this was 2015. So, I went again. Thank God for FMLA, and you know, they took a leave of absence for 4 months. I took a leave of absence for 4 months, and I came home right. before Christmas of 2015, and then uh, trained and got on, and then when I while I was here, it and rowing was, man, it's probably the biggest for me. That was like the biggest service I could do for my village and my family.
Mhm.
Um, I take pride in it. I'll never forget it. And so that's how I ended up back here in Samoa. That was my first time back in Samoa. I think it was almost 13 years since I left. And then, so that's how I ended up back here.
We have a question online from Brother Tassi. He asks, what is the biggest challenge our student athletes face today? Do they have better exposure and opportunities compared to back then?
Mhm.
Um, yes. First of all, from the get is because of social media. And I always tell the kids all the time, you guys have, like, we had to go get VHS videotapes, or we could only watch the game. Like for example, NFL, you only watch the NFL on Sundays. You only, it was lucky if they even played college games back then on TV.
Yeah.
Now, everything's on the phone. Exposure, yes, it's better now because you could sell yourself on social media, and that's what I always try to tell the kids. But one of the problems about a lot of the kids now is they will watch the highlights and skip the whole work process that these athletes went through. And within that journey of working, they'll find all these things to better their craft. And then it's been a song I've been singing to these kids, and as long as I'm a coach, I'm gonna keep on singing it until they realize it's better now. But yes, that's uh that part of the question about exposure. It is better now. It's way better now than how because we had to do our own highlight tapes. We had to um but the biggest struggle for the student athletes as far with sports is them realizing that you got to work. You really got to work for what you want. It doesn't just come. Like, you can't just say, like, I want to go to college. Like, I want to go to college to play ball. I want to go to college to play volleyball. And then you got to realize that, man, there's a big workload that comes with it. And it's not just you get up and then go. So I say that's the biggest struggle for our student athletes.
When you
So
moved back home, can you share the story about when football went from becoming your passion to your calling?
so first of all, just to add on that story about when I came for the boat, that's when I met, uh, not met, but I started talking with my wife, and that's what made me want to come back. And then we'll get into that after. But when I came, I remember it was so when we were in Utah, we would always alumni and those guys would come up. Okela when he was coaching here, and we would always get together. We supported the football program. Um, as time went on, when it was bad here and there, I ain't gonna lie, I was one of those guys that would downplay our football program. Man, what are they doing? Okay, get it out football, got cool, stuff like that. And I'll never forget, it was my brother Doug, man. They came down for my wedding, and we were hanging out one night, and I was just gone, after a few drinks here and there, just talking trash about our football program. And mind you, I have not stepped foot on the football field. You know, um, my brother Jerome, our brother Jerome, rest in peace.
Rest in
But
peace.
he would always tell me, yeah, he would always tell me, come coach, come coach, come coach. And, I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. Then we got busy with the wedding prep and everything. But, that night I was talking all this trash, and my brother Doug was all like, because he's a coach at the University of Utah. And my man cut me off, and he was all like, tell you, man, you could either keep talking about the problem or go be part of the solution, man. it's so easy to talk from the outside. And I ain't gonna lie, man, that made me feel so small when he said that, man. Like, man, like I never talked about, trash about the football program after that. And then I started going, and I went, and it was one of the biggest rude awakenings of my life, man. Because I used to talk to Jerome about it, like, yeah, man, because we play football, whatever. Then you think it's easy, like, okay. Then my first day, man, like, honestly, my first day or even that first week, I didn't think I wanted to do it after that because it was so different. Knowing football and playing football, and I think goes for every sport. Then trying to teach it to kids is a whole different story. It's just, you know, um, football kind of comes last in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the kid has to trust you, the kid has to be comfortable with you. Then you got to know the kid, and stuff like that. There's so much in the process that goes into coaching, but that's just one kid because every kid learns different.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you right now, what you know, Jerome had to struggle with coaches, but one thing that I'll never forget, and I love that I got from him, is that he taught me how to fall in love with those kids, man. So, um, so it went from coaching, and then that's how it became the calling. Like I said, I look forward going there. I look forward to being with the kids. Like, just seeing what bringing out the best in them. I don't care if it's football.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Duke, I know we talked about during our test Friday night about challenges with kids. There's different kids and different ways of dealing with them. What was tell me about a time where you dealt with uh, an athlete that was very stubborn, and it was hard to get through this athlete. And then on top of that, you had to deal with the parents. How did you deal with that? And how has it helped you to shape you to a different coach and a different mentor?
so there was a kid. It was Jerome's last year coaching. He was close to Jerome. He was one of Jerome's players. I mean, Jerome's players that he brought up, and I felt like he didn't. It was, he would listen to Jerome, and then if I try to tell him something, he's like, yeah, 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 but he would. Anyways, I always thought like he would get into fights here and there, and I was like, man, I don't know, man, that kid, um, you try not to say he's a bad kid. I don't believe that there's any bad kids. I believe that they're all good kids that make bad decisions sometimes.
Mhm.
Anyways, um, one day Jerome calls me and he goes, Sully, can you go pick up Mumilla? That's his name. I go, why? And I was telling Jerome, he don't listen to me, man. He goes, Sully, he needs to go to his court case. So um, I pick him up from Hawaii. He jumps in the car and he's crying the whole way to the courthouse. And I'm like, yeah, man, I've never been in this situation before. You know, at that time I was like, man, what the hell, man? I'm here to coach football, man. Oh, but and then I asked him what happened, man, and he said, unfortunately his dad, you know, unfortunately he was on some drugs and everything, and had an altercation. His dad was just kind of flipping out, and then he had a scratch, and it was bad, you know. But I could tell it took him a while to tell me the story while we were driving, and he's crying at the same time. The only reason I asked him what happened is because I wanted some time to try to figure out what to say to him. I don't know if that makes sense, man. I've never been in that situation, man. Like, and so I just try to comfort him and be there for him. Then we get to the courthouse, and this is how I knew it was bad. We're sitting there waiting to see the judge, and a car starts revving its engine outside, and he goes, Coach Lokomala. And I was like, what? Nothing got away. And he goes, Moka, wale done it? And my man was so spooked, man. Um, and 10 minutes later, his dad walks in. He walks in and he's just going off, like just talking and talking. And I knew, he was on something. And 20 minutes talking like that. And this is what he says. Miss eating away, Edie coach gets up and leaves. And I'm looking at the door and I hear this kid like, sniffling, like I know he's crying, but like, my mind was blown. Like, what do I, what I'm saying? Like, what do I do now? Like, what do I say? And then I turn around and rub his back. And then, fortunately, man, like 10 minutes after that, the judge calls and we go in, and one of the public defenders, I think he was a ref, Mike White. And Mike looks back and he goes, Coach. I go, hey. He goes, this is your son? I was all like, nah, he plays football for me. And he goes, well, where's his parents? I go, I don't know. And then he goes, he needs his parents. I go, man, if he plays for me, he's my son, man. So the judge just, gave him a different court date. Anyways, we jump back in the car and he cries. He's crying. And I'm just telling him, man, and man, just, I'll pray for you, man. And I hope you feel, I know it sucks being in this situation, just trying to, because, man, like, that's one of the worst things for me is like, at that time, because I didn't know how to approach that. I didn't know the perfect words, and I felt so bad for him. So, but here's one thing that I know. I asked him, and he was all like, no, coach, can we go to practice? So my man cried all the way. When we parked on the field and he opened the door, he had the biggest smile on his face. And that's when I found out, like, football, for some of these kids, it's their escape. You know what I'm saying? So I'll never forget that. When I learned that lesson, that's why no matter how much I yell at them, I know some of these kids, this is all they got. And then when they leave, you just pray to God that it works out. You pray to God that they're going to be safe. You pray to God that they're going to eat at home. And then some of us are fortunate to have good families, good parents to go home to. And then you don't ever want to think it's like that for kids here. But when you see it firsthand, it's hard to even try to give up on them, like, or have that feeling, now I'm done. Then you think, and then I think about those kind of situations. So that's the only way you could deal with it is when they're with you. I tell the parents all the time, when your kid is with me, when I make that point about when your kid is with me, I try not to make it. I try my best to let them know it's not about football. I'm gonna make sure that they're loved and they're safe and they're cared for. So, that's what you just try to do the best with parents, like that. Just try to sell yourself so they'll feel comfortable with their kid being with you. So.
We have a comment on here from Sister Stacia. She said, I saw you and your wife, along with the staff, love on the team. I also heard you speak life into the players. So keep up the awesome encouragement as a coach, as well as a father figure that the young sons of Samoa may be missing at home.
I appreciate that. You always try to wish for a platform you can to reach the kids, and then when you get it, I don't know if you guys. I know you guys heard this saying, man. I try not to be that guy that gets hit from this saying when they say everybody wants to be the man until it's time to be the man, So I try to, now that I'm a coach and I'm in a position for the kids to listen, I try, like I said, I don't hide anything from them, man. I tell them, man, if there was a word called a life effort, man, in the dictionary, man, you probably see me with a big smile like that. That's the picture up there. So, but I use that, I use that to my advantage to make sure to save these kids some time and trouble, from going down that path, man. Like if I see them going down a path, man, I always try to tell them, I know where that ends up at. I'm gonna tell you right now, it ain't nothing but heartache and you know what I'm saying, wasted time down that path. So I appreciate that, but we life's all about progression, right? So we try to leave this world better than it was when we got it. So that's what I try to do every day.
I'm sure you're currently making a lot of sacrifices, right? Continuing to coach, but can you share the story about your life sacrifice that you had to make with career and coaching? A lot of people may not know, and I think that was a huge sacrifice personally for yourself and your family. But can you share that with everyone?
With sacrifices, that's what I got to give all appreciation and flowers and kudos to my wife and my daughter. I approached my wife about. So here's the thing: I was working for ASPA, and that's Fatulu, right?
Hmm.
Remember Fatulu? So she was my boss. So what I
Oh,
would do when I was yeah, she was my boss. So I was coaching, and then what I would do when I'm on call, I would have the ASPA phone at practice, and then people will
you don't want to
call,
mess
"Usted
with
no
her.
convey." Oh yeah, man, man, I love Fatulu, man. Like, you know, so anyways, customers will call or the call center will call. They will call, dude, what better way, wherever. Yeah, okay, okay. And then I try to cover the thing, but I wouldn't go on the trouble call until after practice is done and after I drop the kids off. And I used to take so much heat, like get there and I found, oh, never makafakali. So if anybody out there that's watching this and you were one of them, and I'm sorry, man, but like so. Anyways, it got to the point where I knew that this is going to take up a lot of my time, especially during. So I approached my wife and we talked about it, and she was okay with it. And then I approached my supervisor. This is the time Fatulu was gone. She was in Washington, and then I talked to my supervisor. Um, Kind of gave me that ultimatum, either to choose between my job and the kids, and I told him, man, I didn't come here to ask you to give me a choice. I just came here to let you know what I'm gonna do. Because with me, um, if this is my calling from God, and then my wife is good with it, man, anybody else, man, it don't matter to me what you
Right?
think, man. I'm just here to give you the courtesy that I'm talking to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to give you the courtesy, as a supervisor and employee. But you know, my real boss is at home, man. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so, but
Yes, and
yeah,
thank you to
it's
her for saying football.
so.
Okay, we have a couple comments online. So Tasi says, "Are we disadvantaged in any specific area where you believe even in the slightest improvement would elevate our team, facility, weights, equipment, etc.? You've done a great job in putting Leone back on top and have done so close to winning it all. Without revealing too much, is there anything we alumni can help out?"
Good question.
Um, so here's the thing. As far as the program, being in a disadvantage, for our program compared to others, no. Um, Everybody likes to talk about that Tafuna's getting more support than we are. I mean, that may be true, but we have the people. Um, so the weight when I took over the weight room, it had the same looked like the same racks in the weight room for over 10 years. So we kind of cleaned everything out, and we fundraised, and we got newer equipment in there. That uh, the whole weight room was different than when I first took over. Um, as far as equipment and all that stuff, here's the thing. There was one time I talked to one of the old coaches from back in the day. Like, I'm gonna try my best not to name names now, but and he told me that the difference between then and now is that every year, um, every school had a budget from the DOE, and I'm not gonna say the amount, but every year it was for all the sports. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense, but it was for all the sports. For every year, there was a certain amount that was given to every school for the sports, which kind of makes sense now because, I always tell my coaches because there are all of them are younger than me, that I don't remember fundraising like this when we were in high school. We had the same. Maybe it was because we had the same uniform. We took care of it, but now we're fundraising every year and like twice a year, and it's crazy to me, man. Because like it, it, man, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, first, let me say this before anybody says anything. For the record, my opinions are just my opinions, and I don't speak for everybody. Just clear that up. So my my thing is I don't remember that. I don't remember us fundraising twice a year and getting new uniforms every 3 or 2 years. It so I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's the funding. So I asked that coach, "Is it different now?" And he goes, "No, it's the same. We just don't know where that money's at." And that's it kind of it. You get caught sometimes in between. Okay, I'm gonna make some noise, or am I gonna make some noise and then take the time away from the kids while they're waiting
Yeah.
for things to keep going? You know, so I choose to make noise a little slower than I do keeping things moving for the kids.
Yeah.
So
We have a comment on here from Kavika. Hey, coach, we up here in Vegas for the Polynesian Combine. Saw Oscar's boy out here. Would love to see more of our boys out here. Let me know. Will to sponsor to pay for kids registration. Can check to see if our alumni can chip in to get more of our kids exposure. Love and blessings to you guys.
yeah, that's I know you guys remember Oscar. So that's his son. Last year, our kid, David Pritchard, he's actually Ben Pritchard and Setawa Yando's son. He got invited last year, and then Oscar Jr., we'll call him OJ. He's the one that got invited this year. Um, his comment kind of falls into question what Arlington was asking about what the alumni can do. Um, First of all, that's my fault because I'm not really good in asking for stuff. You know what I'm saying? So um, I would love to. Like, that's why I thank God for you guys podcast. This kind of platform because it kind of opens that door and then breaks the ice on that. So it'll be cool to talk with some of the alumni and then trying to go over that kind of stuff. What the alumni could do, off island alumni, because the alumni on island, they do an awesome job with getting involved with the school and
Good.
um, what's that, staying around with the school stuff, and then even the sports. They'll feed and all stuff like that. They're always they're always here and there at the games. So, but yeah, I would love for us to sit sometime with some of the alumni off island, and then just talk about what we can do to better some things over here with the program. So
Duke, I know that with all the sacrifice that you're putting into with coaching the boys, right? Are the boys are we are we are we losing benefits for the boys and opportunities that they're not being able to reach and grasp because of where they're in Samoa? Are we limiting them for those opportunities? And does it have to do? Of course, I you mentioned money, but what are we doing to make up for the short of money that's coming in to support these boys, having them go out off island to attend these combines, attend these camps?
Well, the one of the hardest things is that where we're at, you know, um, getting invitation. So like getting so Texas, Hawaii, whatever. Getting an invitation up there is different than getting an invitation here, because first the airfares, like we talked about and everything like that. That's why recruiting is hard here in Samoa. There's a lot of things we'll get into it, but first of all, so if I'm a if I'm like a head coach or athletic director, if I'm not fully sold or guaranteed that that kid from Samoa is gonna come and make a quick impact on my football team, why am I going to spend this money to fly this coach down there, and knowing that there's 2 flights a week, then that means I got to put them up in a hotel for like a week. You know what I'm saying? Um, I the thing is, so like the money thing we were talking about, it's more of a, if the parents here were knowledgeable about it, just because I know if they don't recruit strong, then it quickly goes to like, man, like they don't care about the kids here and stuff like that. It's hard because they got so many hoops they got to jump through to come here to recruit. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so like if the parents understand that college ball it's a business. No matter how you look at it, it's a business. And then I get our kids ready for that. I talk to them about it. I tell them how it is, because if your dream is the NFL, man, the NFL is it's 10 times worse than college on the business side. Like you could be the best receiver today in practice. You sprain that ankle, there's a chance that you're gonna be gone the next day, because let's just be real. If you're not valuable to me, I'm not going to spend this money on you. I don't know if that makes sense. So, but that's what it is about being recruiting in Samoa, and that's why I love the parents around the program now, the football program, because they're starting to find out that. So the money thing, first of all, how to pay for college. They're starting to know that, man, I don't have to be known as one of the rich people in Samoa for my kid to go to college. There's options, and and there's ways to help my kid, to help pay for my kid's education to go, to go to college, and I love that, man. And so they're being more sold on that college is an option, so that part with the money thing, and then because like I told you guys, man, that word offer and exposure, it's like sometimes it's like poison here, because some people just throw it out. And like, man, if I was one of those parents that wasn't knowledgeable about it, if I hear offer and I just watch football, you tell me offer, I'm like, oh, my son's gonna be on scholarship, and it's not, that's not always the case. So
Mm. Brother Tati says, thanks, coach.
okay.
So, are there some of the
But
things I know you're saying, like investing in the boys? Like, I love that you say it's not only about football, right? Your first priority is to take
yeah.
care of the boys, right? Make sure they have somewhere safe to be and learn on other things in life. Um, is part of that connection you educating the parents and the boys on how to get like financial aid or scholarships, or going out? Do you find yourself doing all that as well?
Well, fortunately, I'm lucky that Bella used to work for, I think, the admissions, at a university. I think at Troy University. So she knows that whole loop. So it's kind of like I take care of the football side of stuff, and then when it comes to admissions and financial aid, she has all the info for that. Like I said, you're gonna have to go to her because she didn't take a break after that one quarter. You know what I'm saying? She finished, you know, I'm over here. I go, Sully, when you walk off the field, because they all call her mom, so I'm coach here, and then when you walk off the field for that stuff, yeah, oh, cool, yeah, mom, so, but yeah, but she my wife, she talks to me about it, and then gives me pointers here and there, and then kind of explains to me about the paying options, the financial aid and all that stuff, and then how financial aid works, and then scholarships, and then um, with stuff like that, and then so it's been it's been good because when we do talk to her, but the problem is that I'm not gonna. I think it's getting the parents when we do have to meet. It's hard to get in one place to meet to go over that, and then because then you just find yourself repeating yourself. Like one parent saying the same thing to the second parent, saying the same thing to the. But the kids have been uh so the 14 that are going to get signed this year, they're already all on their admissions. I've been telling them to get with the advisors to get their transcripts, all that stuff, and then they've been pretty good. They've been on it, and then asking their parents to help them with their financial aid stuff. So I try to tell them, man, just knock it out now, so you don't have to worry about it. You know, when it gets close, when time gets close to graduation, all that stuff, because then you're gonna be having senior week and all that fun stuff. And then and then oh man, now I'm not gonna go, So
Yeah, and let me just add to this. So all those parents are that's out there in Samoa, and this is for everybody here in America too. Um, the latest that you sign up for your financial aid, your student loan, the less money you'll start to receive. So the earlier you sign up for your financial aid student loan, the more money that's available for you to be able to grasp for your child. So don't delay. And then when you wonder why you got money that needs to come out of your own pocket, this is the reason why. So it's very important to follow through with coach, and also behind a good man, there's always that strong woman. So good job, Billy.
Right. Yes. And congratulations on those 14 as well in your team. Um, how do you balance coaching, being a husband and a father?
that's something we talk about all the time. I ain't gonna lie. What's that? Me and my wife always talk about that, and she's always hounding me about, um, you know, if you're a great coach, man, you got to be a great husband and a father at home. And I ain't gonna lie. I fall short a lot of times. And I say, hey man, come on, babe, I'm a guy, man. We're always in work in progress, man.
Almost like Billy.
Anyway, yeah. So for real, but I try my hardest, and you know, so me with noticing things at football that I catch on real quick. I try to bring that home so that I catch on stuff that I know I'm kind of like, falling off on. But I try to keep football separated from the family, but it's hard because all my players know my daughter. They all call my wife mom. When they get a no from me, they run to her, and stuff like that. So they know after practice. So we have these routes after practice, right? So I'll take the Alatawa kids, and Pele would take some of the kids that go to Puvayai, stuff like that. But them fools notice when she stops at the store after practice. I don't. So then you'll see like, "Oh, can we start switching routes?" I said, I don't care. You can switch routes. If that water, you better hope that water keeps your throat wet all the way till you get home, because I two stops, man. One to where you live at, and then one when I get home. But yeah, it's been a journey and a blessing for our home. You know, it's always like a year round thing. I was like, man, I'm gonna do this, and then there's always something that comes up with the kids, and 'cause she teaches at the college, and then my daughter, She plays volleyball, and then it's just constantly moving. Constantly moving. So, but we roll with the punches, and then just try to make the best of it every day. Good or bad. At the end of the day, man, just do the best you can. So
We have a question online. So Brother Tasi is asking, we hear about the drug problem in Tutuila. Can you share whether this is a problem that has affected our athletes, or if the ICE problem affected families or villages?
yeah, it does concern with the villages and everything like that. That's why um, I can honestly say since I started coaching, with Okela and then Jerome and then taking over, it's gone much better, especially for the students because when I first got there, I've noticed, man, there was kids on it, like high school kids, man, like they were going that way, just and the best thing I could do because you can't reach into every home. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. You can't go to every home. So when we have them at the football field or at the school, um, we try to kind of brainwash them out of that. I don't know if that makes sense, and just show them. And here's what's been helping a lot: the boys that have been going off to college, these guys are starting to see a whole different picture now. Like, dude, um, this is not impossible. We can go. We can actually go. You know what I'm saying? So, um, it is it's been a problem, uh, but you just try to fight it the best way. What you got, you use what you got, and then trying to fight it that way. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I try to use football and then football reaching to those parents through football with the kids. So because I heard this thing from when I went to a coaches convention in Vegas. One of the coaches said, and I think this has to do with when they go home and what's around their village or whatever city they live in. He said the biggest worry that we got to worry about with coaches is when kids go back home or to where they're from and get deprogrammed from what we've been teaching them when they're with us. You know, so and
When
I
you
think
say
it falls
deprogram,
for the
when you say deprogram, what are you talking about? You being influenced by family back home, influenced by what's going on in the environment back home?
yeah. So we all talked about kids come from different backgrounds, and if they have trouble at home and everything, that if they're getting you know verbally abused or whatever, any kind of bad situation at home, when they're with us, we love them. We teach them football. We care about them. We joke with them. They open up. Within those 2 hours, it's so crucial because after those 2 hours, they go back to that. And I'm not saying every home is bad, but what I'm saying, the kids that do have those situations at home, that's why I said when they when they leave you, you just got to pray that they're safe, that they're eating, that they're loved, stuff like that. Now, I'm not a in no way am I saying I'm a perfect person, but I just hope that these kids are getting what we give them at practice at home as well. Uh, you know, So that's what I know that's what he meant by being deprogrammed. Because if they come from a bad situation at home, we have 2 hours, and that's why I told them coaches, man, it, when parents give us their kids that 2 hours, man, we got to do all like we even got to be drained after that 2 hours. Like, man, I just gave them all I had. Now I got to go back and reset, and then come back and do it again the next day. So
I wanted to also add to that a question pretty much. When these kids go back home, right? And then, so for me, high school, I love basketball.
yeah,
I played, even I would do that to avoid doing fouls at home and getting fussy from my mom. So I would go to basketball practice or go to Lions Park to play basketball. until it's dark and whatever's. But I get it. They do this to, a lot of times is to get
Yeah.
away from things. How does that transition when they go to college, when they come to America? It's different. How can we prepare them for what's going on in their own lives in Samoa? Taking them out of Samoa, put them in America, they're now in college. How can we prepare them so that when they go to America, they'll be able to utilize within those 2 hours that they had each day with their coach and the times that they had with good mentors? How can we be able to let them utilize what they've learned, the good things, to push them in America in whatever they chose to do, college or work?
Well, so with the 2 hours that we were talking about, that I told the staff that it's crucial. I think it helps when they do go to college, because when they get to college, this is what I tell the kids all the time. If so I don't tell them this part. If football is here to escape and they're going to go to college, remember, those recruiters, let's just be real about it. They didn't come here because you're going to be an astronaut, or you know what I'm saying, or the next, person to invent some. Their interest sparked from football. So now when you go up there and they're around that football environment at the same time, every time we have them for those 2 hours, that we're prepping them for that life off island. If football's their escape and they're at, some of them, it works out for some of them, it doesn't. But as long as the kids that works out for it, the kid that it doesn't, when they're in high school, I'm still giving them the same message, whether, you know what I'm saying, which category they fall in. So when they go to college and they're around football all the time, sometimes it works out because that's their escape. And then now they attached onto it, and then they adjust. It's kind of hard to explain. So like, it's like at the school when I tell some parents or even some teachers that if there's a kid struggling in school but he's good in sports, I'm going to use sports to keep him in school. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we gotta use what they're strong at, and then school is the main point. Academics is the main point. But if they don't like going to class, or they don't like, then we got to use this sports thing to keep them there. And then that's why football stuff for us, it's year round, so that we keep them. Like, some of them get frustrated with it, that because that break from after the season to the next season is long, you know. But you try to just keep busy all year long, so that they'll they'll stay with it, and at the same time they're still going. Because I tell the kids all the time, man, the path to the football field, man, it goes through the classrooms. It's not the other way around. You know, you gotta be in, you gotta go to school, you gotta study and everything like that. Yeah, coach, well, we practice after. I'm like, hey man, that's the choice you made. And that's why I keep telling you guys that you guys are not the same than every other student. You guys have to do more. Now, I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but if this is not for you, then it's not for you. I will not love you any less. But if you decide to come here, just know that it's hard, especially with football. Uh, The reason why a lot of kids don't want to play football is because you you work out all year round, and then even when the season starts, you practice a whole week and only play one game a week. And then it's even worse on a bye week. So it's that it teaches you how to work, how to work,
Yeah.
and how to face adversity, man. That's the thing.
And to have that competitive attitude, you kind of really need that, because I feel like
Yeah.
you take that competitive attitude, you take it also into school. Like, oh, I'm going to show you I'm not dumb. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you I can do this. You
Yep.
know, and
Yeah.
that's an
Yep.
attitude that these boys will be able to go far with that, and plus put God first, because that's the one thing that's going to help you stay on the right track. Because trust me, I was just like you when I first went to college. Culture shock, ula vale, learned my lesson. But I wanted to also add another thing, another question in regards to all the high schools in American Samoa. Tell us about the championship. What happened this last year? What was it that tough? Was it Tafuna that won championship? Am I correct?
You mean the last 3 years?
Yes. So what's going on, Duke? What's going on? What is it that what are we missing that you feel like we need the boys need to work on, the school needs to work on, us as a community alumni as at the same time need to help out. What is it?
Okay, let's start off with this. That's why I said earlier. What was that? When I told you I would talk trash about the football program, right?
Mhm.
And when I got into it, that's why I've caught some negative comments after the championship game this past year, and that's why I don't. It doesn't really bother me. I get it, but I can't react to it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you got to take the good with the bad. You know what I'm saying? That
Yes.
that that's when you become a leader or something. You got to do that. So here's the thing. Um, when I took over as head coach, everybody had these opinions. Of why Leon is this. 'Cause it was bad. I'm telling you. Jerome started cleaning this thing up, and then I just continued on from it. And anyways, it was really bad. I'm talking about the whole energy around the football team, the discipline, just who they were known as on campus, who our kids that went to Leone High School were known as at the football games, starting fights and all that. So when it came to the football program, everybody had an opinion of what was going on, what was wrong with it, this and that. And the more I coached, the more I realized that when we were winning championships back in the day, I think in the 30-year span, there were only two head coaches or three. Ever since, like, I think after 2002 or whatever, it has been 2 3 years different head coach, 2 years different head coach, 2 3 years different head coach. So when Pooch started winning all those championships at Fonlaikua, and then Kevin here at Tafuna, and then I try to tell people it's consistency, it's the culture. You know,
Yes.
you build a culture. It's the consistency you build within it. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be about oranges on Monday, and then Tuesday we about apples, and then be about oranges again, and then pears. It confuses the kids. But here's my thing: the culture. They built a culture because it's like with us when we were in school. It was so consistent that when we were in elementary, we knew what high school we wanted to go to.
Yes.
We knew what we were getting into. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew what, man, I'm gonna go be a winner at Leone, and I don't care what sport I play or what school competition it is. We were just we were just taught from elementary when the high school was doing it that no, we're gonna go crush it and we're gonna beat everybody. That was it. You know, and when I was watching football when I was young, my brother Doug and them, I get it now because honestly, I think they won most of half of their games before the game even started. The way they came off the bus, the way they walked together, the way that you can have you can have forest fires going on the side of them. They didn't care. They were just deadlocked focused. All they thought about was, nah, we're here on the business trip. We're here to smash you guys, and then we're gonna go back home. And that's what it was about. Now we're trying to build this culture. Now I ain't gonna lie, a lot of it falls. Like I said, I'll take the falls any day of the week. It'll if you want to blame me, blame me. But here's the thing: the kids here at Leone right now are not a part of that culture yet. They're building it, but they're that culture that we have. We're like, I don't give a damn if you won 10 championships and this is a new team. We had that culture like, I'm gonna beat you.
Yes.
We were That's how competitive we were. You know what I'm saying? And even if we lost, it was like we won. We didn't dwell on it. You know, and I'm gonna tell you right now, our team, they know how to lose, but they do not know how to win. And when I say that, because when they win, it's not huge to them where they build off of it and even get better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But when we lose, they could shake it off so quick. And that's why I say that.
Okay.
Like we went to the championship game 3 years in a row, and we've lost to the same team 3 years in a row. The first year, I took over, we made it to the playoffs for the first time in like 5 years. We lost in the playoffs, and I didn't come out of my room for like 4 days. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, I felt that was a bad loss for me. Like I feel like I let so many people down and stuff like that. You put so much on your shoulders, and the next year we went to the championship game, and then we lost. But I was like, man, we're building something here. We're building. But I tell the kids all the time now, man, we've been to that game 3 times now. Like, what are you gonna do to win it? Because I'm telling you, man, like a lot of times when we get to that game, a lot of our kids, it feels like the stage is too big for them. And I feel like they don't belong there. I was like, nah, man, you worked for it. And that's what I try to say. You worked hard to get here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be a champion. But that's something like we as coaches can't change for you unless you change and realize it. Now, am I putting all the blame on the kids? No, I'm not, man. But we're building a culture, and unless the kids realize that, this culture will be solidified. And I can't, and I'm here to get to that part where our culture is, we have a standard. A lot of people might not think that, but man, Leone High School has a standard. And once these kids realize that what you represent, is huge, and then you'll start acting and walking and playing and talking like it. So
Great job. Great job. Because, like you said, when you guys knew who you were going to play for when you got to high school. You guys knew who you were going to, drive with. And
yeah,
so you establishing this for them, right? I'm positive you'll get them to that point where when they show up, they're going to show up with the attitude is I'm going to take it because it's mine. Go Lions. Brother Tati says, thank you, coach, for all that you do. We are blessed to have you mentorship, which extends beyond coaching, sending our love to you and your family.
Thank you. Look,
So,
the
Duke,
thing is, man, go ahead.
I have to ask, your brother, he plays for the University of Utah. How has his influence helped you to
Coaching.
be the coach? Yes.
He coaches for the University of Utah. So how does that influence your coaching? I think that's what she said.
Yes. How does your brother's experience coaching the University of Utah? How does his experience help you in your challenges and your mentorship with the boys?
So I've never told my brother this. So having Doug over there is almost like a cheat code. And what I mean about a cheat code, and it has nothing to do with football schemes or whatever. Having access to my brother, talking to him, I get to see the end game of college for our boys. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what to expect from college ball and stuff like that, what goes on, how to work and how to be driven and stuff like that, because this is how it is in college ball. I get it from him, and then I bring it and I kind of tweak it to the language where the kids will understand. And then I tell them, hey man, this is how it is over there. This is how it is. But so with my brother Doug, so just wanted to share this with you guys. My brother Doug coaches at University of Utah. My brother Dennis coaches high school football in California. My sister Colleen in Hawaii, she coached club volleyball before and high school volleyball. My nephew's been a coach. My nieces play. My oldest brother Pete, he's always busy with his grandkids sports stuff. So anyways, we always share stories. But with Doug, man, um, just seeing him do what he does, and this is why I love coaching, because not a lot of people are blessed to say that they love what they do as for a job. Not a lot of people are blessed to say that. And then he loves it. And then I see him, and then I've seen the fruits of his labors, and just watching him, because he's a strength coach, so he works them out, he runs them. But this is one thing I love about him when I was with him. The last game of the season, he would never stay. So every time he comes out, we say hi, we hang out. But the last home game of the season, he always says, "Hey, let's go, let's go." He always kind of rushes out. And it wasn't until after like 3 years I asked him, "Tell me, what do you always do that, man?" He goes, "What? I've noticed the last home game, you always do that." And my brother said, "Man, because I don't want to say goodbye to the parents, the ones their kids are leaving, because he's been with them for 4 years." And, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's certain moments of coaching with these kids and the parents. Like the hardest part of my job is saying goodbye to the seniors every year. Seeing them from an eighth grader and then and then they're graduating, and it's hard to say goodbye to them. But I try to I talk to them and present myself in a way where they're going to look at me and have faith that what we've been through and what we worked on and what we built to where they're heading, it's going to work out. So, but his influence has been huge on me, and what he does, he's done it for 20 plus years. And we're talking about kids from Samoa that are already trained to listen and obey. My brother's been dealing with grown adults, man, different egos, different races, different walks of life. I could just imagine that there's some days that if I'm talking about, man, there's some days I want to choke this kid out, man. I can just imagine how he feels, with those grown adults, like, but, I admire him. He's been like that since I was a kid. He's always been self-disciplined. So, but his impact on me has been huge. So,
Duke, how many siblings do you have in total?
there's six of us. I got my oldest brother Pete. He's in the Bay Area. Then there's my sister Colleen. She's in Hawaii. She lives in Ever Beach. Then there's Doug in Utah. Dennis, he's in Turlock, Spite Modesto in California. Me, and then uh, the baby of the family, Daryl. He passed away in 2007. So there's six of us.
What got you guys to be inspired to be coaches? Well, we know you. How did that all start with everybody
Yeah.
else?
For me, I could be wrong with my brother Doug and my brother Dennis. I just think they love being close to the game. And we talk about this all the time when we're together. Is about what the game has done for us, and the doors it's opened to people we met through football, and just helping, helping kids or helping anybody, you know. And my wife always says this, man, but I was whatever, man. But I think it sparks from our mom. She was yeah. My mom was always at the football games. She cooked breakfast for Leone High School from freaking I think 88 all the way to 97, man.
Wow.
And the yeah, and she had, the strong PTA back then with Uncle Gene and all those guys, the Reed family, there was the support was so strong back then. Anyways, she was always there for the kids. She loved working with the youth. And then I think that's what rubs off, with us. Like, we talk about, me and my brothers and my sister, we get together, we talk about dealing with parents, players, the players, academics, man, he doesn't go to class and all that stuff. So, but I think, I think it's just what we were raised on. Like my mom, she lived a selfless life, and I think we love living that kind of life too. So
Earlier, you said you gave your all, right? Like how you're saying you could have modeled it from your mom and your siblings. That you give it your all when you do your coaching and with everyone, even up to missing them when they're about to leave, right? So, what are some of the things that you
yeah,
and your wife and your daughter like to do to reset and enjoy and, to refresh yourself? How you were saying sometimes when you give your all at the end of the day, right, you have to go back home and reset. What are some of the things you guys like to do?
travel.
Nice.
So we have we started. This is going to be the third year, but we started this annual trip in the summers where we bring kids up and go to camps, where we attend camps, and then it's usually within a month. And then when the kids either they come back home, or some of them go enjoy the rest of the summer before we start summer ball. So right after that month, usually the month of July is when we get to. That's our resetting point. We usually go travel and visit family, or sometimes spend a day or two in Vegas, and just we try to put football to the side real quick so we can reset as a family. And I think sometimes we don't do a good job at it because we're still talking about, well, now we got to do this, we got to do that, but just I think that time was just us three, whether it's a day or two or three, it helps, and that's if it for me, if it was up to me, my wife could say different, but for me, like, to reset, man, I just got to be with them, and that's why I love coming home to them. Uh, that resets me every day to go back and get back on the ground with the kids every day. And um, I love it that at the end of the day, every day, I'm coming home to my wife and my daughter. So, you know, but that's what we do to reset. Travel. My wife gambles in Vegas. She loves Vegas. I don't know how to gamble, so she gambles and I go eat, man. Like, I'm over there, like, I'm on YouTube, like, man, look at these fries, dude. Like, So
I wanted to go back to the kids that are in college right now. Do you stay in touch
yeah,
with your boys?
yeah, them fools. So I got uh we got a kid at Wake Forest. We got um I think 4 or 5 at New Mexico Military Institute. Shout out to Coach Kurt Tofasau. He's a Sun One alumni. He's been huge in recruiting our kids, but he is at New Mexico Highland now, and he just signed 6 of our kids. Shout out to George Heather. He's a coach at Allen Hancock, which our kids been going to for the past 3-4 years. We got kids there, and then we got um, Grady Marreco, which is Linfield and Grace Tulafono's son. He's at the University of Utah. Then we have a kid, Alex Faivai. He just signed with Utah State, and then his older brother, Anthony Faivai, he's playing at North Alabama. Um, yeah, so we every now and then, they'll call me. So this is what it is with my boys. I know something serious when they message me, "Hey, coach, are you free to talk?" And the first thing in my head is like, I hate to think like this, but in front, man. But so we always, here and there. Uh, oh, and we have a kid. He actually graduated the year before I started playing. He's actually at BYU, Ray Polo. So, um, yeah, I keep in touch with them. They're good kids, man. I told them, hey, man, one of these summers we're gonna meet for a 2 day, hangout in Vegas. We'll get an Airbnb and then, just catch up with them and everything like that. But they're doing good. They're doing good. It's funny because when I do talk to them, man, I don't even want to hear about football. I just want to hear the way they talk and what they're talking about. What I'm saying, like how they're doing as adults. Like
Yes.
being away from home and man, it's so crazy just listening to them what they're talking about. Like, and in my head, I'm like, man, Stu, man, when he was like a sophomore, freshman, just you're thinking about back in the day while they're talking to you as an adult, and it's a blessing to see that. It's real. It's awesome. So
Okay. And as we conclude the time, I wanted to also say a disclaimer. I know you won't be able to mention everybody, right? But like we said, behind a great man is a great woman. Kudos to your wife and your daughter. But then also, are there any parts of the team? Because, like you said, it takes a village, right? And I know there's a lot of team moms or team
Yeah.
dads or coaches. Would you like to give a shout out to, and like I said, I'm sure I don't know if you can name all of them, but at least, to give them some kudos as well.
well, you know what? I couldn't have done this with a lot of people that so the coaches that I'm gonna shout out to like Elisara, Eli Solomonga, Kenny Tuilomo, Brandon Polau, Alatasi, um, Alatasi, who else coached with us? Carl Samoa. They've been a part of our staff. Um, our team was Marianne Elisara, uh, Lisa Bartley Fataitai, Raynette Harmon. You got Noti Ta'ai. Them. They've all played a part of what we've been building here. Um, and my coaches right now, Oscar Harmon, Dorian Slavel, uh, Junior, Tafoki. Who else? You got Twine Fataitai, which is Lisa's husband. You know, Nema Lang, my younger cousin brother, Alwyn Sorensen, Alex Swafo, and all them. Michael Lelafu too, man. Shout out to all of them. Even I want to give a shout out to if they're watching or not. The boys in Utah that help sponsor the kids and help take care of the kids when we're out there. Paso Liai, La Valle Sapin and Junior Yoane, my brother Cyrus, my man Cyrus. You know, Alex Samoa and those guys, Seattle, Umi, Sean, Lydia. They. That's why I said the alumni has been doing a great job off island when we come with the boys and you know like we live by the motto of our school, unity is our strength, man. Like and
Yes.
we work well in numbers, so um, there's a lot of people like my face might be on a lot of this stuff about the football program, but there's a lot of people that's involved behind it, man, and I can never go without saying thank you to all those people, man. So even all you guys that support from off island, it's huge. Football's football, man, but making these kids feel special, that's the biggest thing. So I appreciate all you guys.
Thank you. Lena, is there anything you want to say? Because we're about to get close to the ending. Is there anything?
No, I was just gonna ask if you want to say anything. Also, I mean, you mentioned it throughout the whole thing, but a special, specific, words of love and encouragement to your wife and your daughter. For they are also the ones that have to go through all of this and sharing you for the better cause and for the greater good, right? But sharing you with so many people that you guys can touch
Yes.
people's lives. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
Thank you guys for holding me down. Um, my wife and you know, I, I always hold this inside of me, man, about my daughter, and my biggest fear is in the future that she resents me for spending so much time on football, but how she sees, yeah, I'm just trying to teach her how to live a selfless life. Even my wife does the same thing. She's always there for a lot of people, and I'm horrible on on words directly to my wife, man. But I'll never I'll never go without saying that in front of anybody and any crowd that loves and supports Leone High School football program that the main reason why I can do what I do and I'm good at it is other than God is my wife and my daughter. My wife keeps me on track. She keeps me balanced. She pushes me. She keeps me in check. Because I need it. With the life that I lived before and everything like that. And then I love, I love her with all I got. And then my daughter, man, it's just I never have a bad day when I come home. You know what I'm saying? Just seeing her and then everything just, oh man, I'm good for the next day. So and I know she's in the front watching, and so I love you, hon, and I love you too, Sienna, man. You guys are my heart, and yeah, and I'm glad you guys are on this journey with me. So I hope dinner's ready, man. Nah.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and
So,
thank you. Yes, thank you so much to your wife and your daughter as well for sharing you with so many people and sharing with all of us. You guys are your sacrifice does not go unnoticed, and your love is will go beyond anything that we can say in words. Vi also says Malo Duke, but thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, Duke, again, for being on the podcast, especially with a busy schedule. And to Billy and your daughter, thank you for, I know he's been shared with everybody else, on the team. And so we appreciate having him spend an hour and a half with us on the podcast. And also wanted to add for all of you who are here in America, if you know of any of our boys coming or girls coming in from Samoa, I know one thing for sure is that when it comes to spring break or Thanksgiving, it's hard for them to go back home. So, they're trying to scramble to find a place to stay with for those weeks to save money because it's not cheap to go back home for the break. So if you know anyone that's out there, a kid, reach out, talk to their parents, have them invite them over for Thanksgiving week, invite them over for spring break, see what it is that they need, reach out. And I believe, Duke, you're probably going to let us know on the alumni page if there's anything that we can do to help out. We have no problem in sending gift cards for Costco shopping, whatever, something
Yes.
simple, right? And if you can give
well,
more, please
here's
do.
one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. I forgot to tell you guys. So we leave here on May 29th. We're gonna be in Texas from May 30th to June 9th. We'll be in Dallas area. We're doing camps at TCU and SMU, and then we'll be up in Utah. We leave on June 9th, and we're doing camps up there in Utah and the All Poly camp. So just to let you guys know.
Wait, you're going to be in
Nice.
Texas May 29th?
May 30th. We'll get there the night of May 30th, and we'll be there until June 9th.
Okay, good.
We're gonna be
Okay.
up in the Dallas. Yeah. So we're doing
Yeah,
SMU
let's
and
start a
TCU camps.
GoFundMe, please. Let's do that because that's what Vi was saying. No, no, we'll work out something. No, all right, we'll try to work out something so that when the boys are here in
Yes.
Texas,
Awesome. GoFundMe.
they've got funds for them because it's not easy to be able to feed all the boys, especially they need to eat. They need to eat like a king. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
oh,
so Duke, where in Utah, please? Where in Utah will you guys be?
We'll be in Salt Lake area. We're gonna do the All Poly camp, which is in I think it's in Draper, Sandy area, and then we're trying to do the University of Utah and University of Utah State camp.
awesome. Well, if
So
there's no other questions, if anybody else, well, hold on. Ask him if he's going to BYU Provo.
we'll try to work something out with with BYU too, because my brother knows, and I know some people over there too. But we'll try to set up. We try to get facility tours for the kids too at
Nice.
those schools. So we'll be around those areas.
So for anybody out there that has more questions and want to get more information on their travel, which Duke, please put it out there on your Facebook page. In that way everyone can keep track of where you
Yeah.
guys are going to be at for the summer and they can plan ahead of time. But
Vice said she'll ask her brother.
because
What
I
was that?
believe, yeah, Vi's brother works at BYU Provo. Is
Vice
that
said she'll
correct,
ask her
Vi?
brother.
Is he with the football team?
Yeah, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, she said she'll ask her brother.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. With that said, well, thank you so much. We appreciate everybody being here, and those who are going to join later on and watching the video. Just want to say again, thank you to Duke, and thank you, Pele, and your daughter. Both of your daughter, she's such an amazing
you.
girl to be able to deal with mom and dad's busy life schedule, and so much blessings for you all. Thank you, everybody. And with that said, to God be all the glory, and everyone have a good night, and we'll see you guys next Saturday. Again, thank you, Duke. Bye.
Thank you.